Since Disney bought Lucasfilm, we have seen a complete and total shift in Star Wars and the way that Star Wars does things. And that's why we now call it Disney Star Wars, because it's important to make that distinction between what came before it when George Lucas was in charge and what has come after he sold it, after Kathleen Kennedy took charge, and this became a Disney company and started doing things a completely different way. And the difference between these two people, Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas, may not have been any more clear than it was the other night when they accepted a joint award given to them by Steven Spielberg. George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy accept milestone PGA honor from Steven Spielberg. Quote, "A producer never works alone." The duo accepted the milestone award from their frequent collaborator at Sunday's 33rd Producers Guild Award. Now, Steven Spielberg said a couple things here. I want to go to what he said. Then I want to go to what George Lucas said, and then what Kathleen Kennedy decided to make this about. Because shockingly, George Lucas kept it about the art and what it means to make something, how many people have to be involved, things like that. Kathleen Kennedy made it about identity politics. Kathleen Kennedy cites impact of women, artists of colors, and LGBTQ on industry amid Disney Don't Say Gay backlash at the PGA Awards. So we're going to talk about this and show so clearly why things have been different since she's been in charge. Introducing the pair, longtime collaborator Steven Spielberg, who has worked with both Kennedy and Lucas for decades, said, "I feel even in this room, we need to define what producers do. Producers do whatever the hell it takes. Courage and imagination and utter lack of intimidation. The producer needs to know everybody's jobs and know how to do them, and not how to do them, but how they are done well, which is what makes George and Kathy so deserving of this recognition. These two titans are still just like kids playing in a sandbox. So it is 1 + 1 = 175. That's the number of projects they have together and apart, 175. Because their singular talents combined are all in the pursuit of creating new stories that have enriched the art form, driven our culture forward, and inspired new generations to tell their own stories. They are and always will be a force to be reckoned with." Now, I want to talk about what George Lucas said. This is great, and I think this is what explains, this is just a hint about why things are so different under George from what he focused on vice what Kathleen Kennedy focuses on. George thanked his former mentor, Francis Ford Coppola, before giving an impassioned speech about producers' role in filmmaking. To me, that's the first and foremost job of a producer, which is to do the impossible, and you do it every day. And then every single day, something comes along to destroy everything you've done. And you have to pick it all up at lunch and figure out a new way to finish the movie in conjunction with the director, and it's daunting to say the least. But a producer never works alone. One, you have to have a great crew. I've always had the best crews. I couldn't have done it without them. And so I think my job also is to gather them all together and inspire them to be the best they can be. Very simple. You know what I mean? I want to go out there and do the impossible. I want to make the impossible, and I want to bring people together that are better for it to create something incredible. What does Kathleen Kennedy say? We worked side by side. Oh, well, she says that they're dawning a new age of the film industry. We worked side by side through one revolution in our industry after another. Revolutions not only in means of movie making and in the ways movie reached the audience, but also in the composition of our business. As women, artists of color, LGBTQ, and differently labeled artists and producers who have fought for and won a place at the table, propelling our community to a more inclusive, diverse, richer, more sophisticated, and nuanced sense of our responsibilities for social, racial, and economic justice. Two polar opposites of what they're focusing on in their acceptance speeches for what they've done. And there's a reason for that. Despite what everyone might want to say about George Lucas wanting to, propagandize something, it was always about the story and what was in the story and entertaining people and inspiring people. Kathleen Kennedy is about the message. She is full corporate about diversity, identity politics, inclusion, social justice. This is a fucking joke. But to have them back to back, talking right next to each other, accepting this joint award, it just shows how truly different they are. Why Lucasfilm, since Lucas sold it to Disney, has been a completely different company under the leadership of this person. But I tell you what, simply replacing her won't really matter. It's a far bigger thing than just Kathleen Kennedy. The problem is everyone that works there thinks like Kathleen Kennedy does. And that's why, as long as it's owned by Disney, it's going to be in the toilet. It's going to be Disney Star Wars, which is not worthy of anyone paying attention to. George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy, two polar opposites in how they approach producing and how they approach creating their content. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.